Three, two, one.
Action.
All right, welcome everybody. We are here for episode number 13. I can't believe, Nick, we're on 13.
Yeah,
We should be getting good at this by now.
good might be
Good-ish.
but good. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, we're gonna run with that. Good-ish.
welcome everybody to Movie Talk with Nick and Uncle Frank, also known as Untitled ZX.
That is,
What have you been up to, Nick? How's your week?
I'm surviving.
I heard there's some big news happening at your house.
Yes, yes. My sisters managed to peer pressure my mother into getting a second dog.
Yeah, I know. Nice, huh?
How they managed to peer pressure her is beyond me
Why don't you peer pressure your mom into getting things?
because I don't feel like it.
You're not good at it. You're not good at it.
It's too much effort. It takes too much effort to be that persistent.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. All right. Well, the other big news is tomorrow Emily gets her license.
Fun.
Third driver of your generation in our family.
Yep.
Look out, world.
And Sam should be getting her permit soon too.
Mhm. All right, let's get into today's agenda. So we're going to do a couple movie reviews, the drama and the Godfather Coda, number three. And for Star Wars time, we're going to spend a little time talking about the newest episodes of Maul, Shadow Lord. But before we get into that, you wanted to talk about CinemaCon.
CinemaCon is arguably one of the biggest events for upcoming films, probably period. It
Mhm.
starts today. I think the first presentation, which is a bunch of smaller studios, is occurring as we speak, although Sony has their big panel later tonight. Um,
Mhm.
it's every April in Las Vegas. This year it's from the 13th to the 16th, the 13th, which is the day we're recording this, of course. Today there's going to be presentations from studios like Angel. We don't really respect them that much. Studio Canal, Sony. Tomorrow, Neon and Warner Brothers. On Thursday, DreamWorks, Universal, Focus, and Amazon. And Friday is going to be Paramount and Disney. Interestingly, Lionsgate is not present this year, which you'd think they'd take the advantage of, especially with their Michael Jackson biopic in a couple of weeks. You'd think
Mm.
they'd come to promote that, but I guess not. Although they did drop a trailer and a couple of posters for the new Hunger Games movie, which comes out in November.
Nick, how come we're not there? Why are we not in Las Vegas?
Um, Last I checked, we weren't investors. This is more so for investors and the press, and we have not quite gotten to the press level yet.
Let's get ourselves a press pass so that next year we can go to Las Vegas.
Well, we'll see.
Work on it.
That's the Sure, let's roll with
All
that.
right. So I guess next week we'll spend a little bit of time on what was said and heard at CinemaCon. Sound good?
Yeah, we're gonna cover the actual reveals. The event's obviously just started, so there's, like I said, not too much to talk about yet, but by the time we get here next week, there's gonna be plenty of things to talk about.
All right. Sounds good. All right. We'll get into our first movie review, the drama. Tell me, what was it about?
So this one was kind of weird because I feel like they kept the main thing that drove the plot under wraps in the marketing, but this is sort of like a dark comedy drama, uh,
Okay.
focusing on this couple played by Robert Pattinson and Zendaya. The week before they get married, and a dark secret is exposed about one of them that sort of derails the entire thing.
Is it a spoiler to say what it is? I'm
Uh,
assuming.
Kinda. They reveal it pretty early on in the film, but I don't think they marketed exactly what said dark secret was.
All right, let's do the spoiler. What was it? What's the
Um,
secret?
the dark secret is that Zendaya's character, when she was a teenager, had planned a school shooting.
Oh, geez. That is a dark comedy.
Yeah, very serious subject matter. I know a lot of people would probably not be comfortable with that being played in a more comedic manner.
I guess I can see why they did not market it as
Yeah, I think there's a pretty good
makes
reason.
sense now.
Yeah,
I can't imagine many people want to go see a comedy about school murders. So,
yeah. I didn't even expect that going into it. So when they said that, I'm like, oh, okay.
yeah.
There, okay.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm surprised Zendaya, she's everywhere now.
Yeah.
All right, so what'd you think of the movie?
Firstly, this is actually one of three different collaborations between Zendaya and Robert Pattinson releasing this year, as they also both appear in The Odyssey and Dune Part 3.
Okay, yeah, but they're not, this one they're leads though, so this is the only one where they're both leads.
Well, I guess Zendaya at least is the co-lead in Dune 3, but yes, they are both co-leads here.
Hmm. All right, and how'd they do? How was the acting?
Um, I think Pattinson was definitely the standout here.
Okay.
This was sort of him, sort of just losing his mind because this is the week before his wedding and turns out, um, big secret, big dark thing that derails the whole thing
Yeah.
to the point where he's not sure if he trusts her anymore.
Okay.
And you see a lot of him like hounding her about how close she actually got to, because they're like, she didn't actually do the shooting, guys. And there's a lot of like, as the title of the film suggests, drama involving that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Particularly there's the bridesmaid and the best man are another couple who are like close friends with them, but
Hmm.
the bridesmaid loses her mind, flips on her because her cousin was paralyzed in a school shooting or something, and it's just like it all comes crashing and burning. And then as they like try to process these sorts of emotions, things somehow manage to progressively get worse. You know,
Hmm.
Pattinson's character, in a moment of being stupid, ends up almost having an affair with a coworker. And the actual day of the wedding, it all comes crashing and burning down. It all like culminates
Okay.
at the wedding, where it all comes crashing and burning, where where people are like passive aggressively threatening to reveal that she had planned the shooting, and
Uh,
you've got the affair accidentally revealing itself, not only to Zendaya's character, but to the boyfriend of the guy he almost had an affair with, who
hmm.
overhears it because they are present at the wedding. And that leads to a fairly funny sequence where the guy confronts Pattinson, and then it just you can tell it's about to get violent, and then it just cuts to the next frame where Pattinson's like got blood coming out of his nose and all over his shirt, like oh,
Mm.
just took the beating of his lifetime.
Yeah, apparently. So would you say the thing was funny? What was more prominent, the dark comedy part or the drama part?
I think it's a mix of both. I don't think either were like too aggressively like over the top. Like the humor was pretty funny but it also wasn't again aggressively over the top. They didn't blow it out of proportion, which I think is smart considering the severity of the subject matter,
Yeah.
which
Was
they
this
took.
on the movies or this was on a streaming somewhere?
This was in theaters.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Well, what's your rating then?
I'd say like a 7 out of 10. I don't it took a while to click with me, I feel like, even after the big reveal of what the dark secret was, because they revealed that pretty early on,
Yeah, well, it sounds like the whole movie is about dealing with that, I suppose. But
dealing with that revelation and
yeah,
again the
I
ramifications of
feel like seven for you. I had this discussion with my family about your rating system, by the way, uh, because your worst movie is a five, your best movie is about a 9.5, and so
it.
seven is like in the middle.
I gave Project Hail Mary a 10 out of 10.
Okay, well there you go.
My
In fact,
lowest,
we decided that we need to get a score, understand your scoring system. So in one of our reviews, we're going to talk about your scoring system. But all right, so 7 out of 10 is squarely in the middle, I suppose.
this is solid, like decent enough. I had a good enough time. I enjoyed it enough, but it didn't like blow me away.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
For the record, we've only gone as low as 5 because movies that are worse than that, I don't feel really the power or interest to talk about them
Gotcha. Well, then maybe
unless it's
we'll
like some hotly anticipated like new release, which
well then maybe we'll review your three movies some other time. But all right, so it sounds like the drama was okay.
solid
Maybe don't
enough.
go out of your way to see it, but if you see it, you'll be somewhat entertained.
I mean, I would recommend it for what it's worth. A lot of people have been giving, I'm pretty sure I'm in the lower half. I've seen a lot of people giving it not nines and tens out of tens within my
Wow.
letterbox circle.
Okay. All right. Well, good to know. It sounds like for me, I'm gonna wait for it to come on streaming then. So,
Yep. He's
all
got
right, let's keep going then. Let's go to the next movie review. Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone.
This is the 2020 recut of 1990's The Godfather Part 3.
Yeah.
Supposedly makes the original supposedly is much better than the theatrical cut. My consensus is if this is better than the theatrical cut, then the theatrical cut must not be good.
Hmm. Well, it definitely didn't get the reviews of the others for
Not
sure. So,
marginally close. This is a mess that has some questionable decisions that I do not understand.
what are the questionable decisions?
First and foremost, Coppola. Why would you write an incest subplot and then cast your daughter as one of the two characters in it? What was
Okay.
the play there? Like that doesn't that's not messed up at all. Not at all.
Hmm.
Nothing concerning about that. I mean, his biggest defense is that she was like the last choice for the role.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it needed that, except that they're out of their mind in this movie, I suppose. But remind me of the whole plot then, anyway, first.
It was a romance subplot between Sofia Coppola played Michael's daughter and between the guy that Michael was setting up as his heir, which was Sonny Corleone's illegitimate son. And that was just kind of weird because from the get-go they just sort of made it kind of creepy and kind of weird. It doesn't help that Sofia Coppola is not a very good actress.
Well, she's a director, right? Like she's
Yeah.
directed some good movies, but
Yeah,
yeah.
she's done a lot more directing lately. She hasn't acted in decades because, again, she wasn't actually trying to be an actress at this point. She just ended up in the role because every other person that was tapped to do the role either wasn't good enough for Coppola or dropped out. Like Winona Ryder was tapped to do this role at one point, but she dropped out. They were looking at Madonna for whatever reason, but they said she was too old.
Hmm.
There was a whole like history for this plot line alone and this particular character,
And so
which
this movie is about Michael trying to end his reign, I suppose, right?
to redeem him, to sort of redeem himself and end the legacy of violence and terror that started with his father and that he arguably made worse.
So he's trying to come full circle here.
Yeah, he's trying to sort of atone for his sins.
All right. So one bad decision was about this Sofia Coppola subplot. What else?
I do think the main plot line was kind of almost the main like actual plot, like not the character stuff with Michael. The character stuff with Michael was really good, as per
Hmm.
the usual, but the main like storyline felt kind of derivative of two. You've got this particular industry they're focusing on, trying to get their
Hmm.
hands into, and there's one rival mobster who's playing the like friendly ally, but he's actually trying to kill Michael and take over the industry. And it's like, yep, this is we did that with what's his name? Hyman Roth in two. This Don Altabello, whatever his name is, was not that much different than like Hyman Roth, the fake ally, actual enemy.
Hmm.
And all I could think is, okay, I've been there, done that.
So three is just too many.
Three, yeah, two was fine, and they definitely could have continued after two, but I don't think what they did was worthwhile at the end of the day.
Hmm.
I think again, it's not a bad movie by any means, but it's got too many things against it to put it even marginally in the same tier as the first two.
Hmm.
Between again, Coppola's or Sofia Coppola's horrendous acting, the pointless incest subplot that ultimately didn't even really contribute much to the overall narrative. And I didn't really like the Vincent Corleone character much either as like the successor. Like he was okay, but he didn't really do anything. He's like one of those characters I just at the end of the day could not really care all that much
Hmm.
about. Like he's there. He exists. That's the extent of what he does. Like he's not completely horrendous his performance, but again, he's not really good either. He's just kind of a character that's there. Like when the whole general consensus I've got here is that whenever it's about Michael, when we've got Al Pacino, like that stuff is all great. But when you're trying to move like the main story forward, it's just kind of boring. And the the subplot with Sofia Coppola and the Vincent character's romance is absolutely dreadful.
Well, yeah, it's interesting that anybody trying to follow up in the role behind Al Pacino, that's a tough place to be, you know. Like
Yeah.
this is the next generation after Al Pacino. It's not going to work.
Yeah, like again, it works more on paper than it does in execution. It's like there could have been something compelling here, but they just didn't do enough with it.
Yeah.
Again, Michael's redemption and his tragedy, that is sort of the thing that makes this movie still fairly serviceable. Because
Hmm.
the stuff with Michael sort of realizing the repercussions, because this is like 20 years after part two.
Right.
So his kids are adults now, he's older, and you can just sort of tell that this life's taken a toll on him. And he's sort of realizing the severity of what he's done, everything he's done, pushing his wife and his kids and his family away, uh,
Hmm.
orchestrating the murder of his brother, which haunts him a lot in this film. Um,
Hmm.
you see a lot because I think the thing I haven't seen the theatrical cut, but from what I've heard, comparatively to the theatrical cut, you actually see Michael's death in the theatrical cut, whereas here you don't. You just
Hmm.
see a shot of him alone at the house he used to live in Sicily during his exile in the first film,
Hmm.
where he's alone, he's miserable. He's got nothing. He's got nothing, he's got nobody,
Hmm.
pushed everyone away. Everyone he's ever cared about he's either pushed away or straight up killed. And you see sort of again just the ramifications of his actions sort of take that toll on him, and that's sort of really powerful
Yeah.
because I think again his arc comes full circle. His arc is like throughout all three films is great
Hmm.
as sort of this descent into madness and villainy and violence that he swore he'd never be a part of, which they address a couple times during some of his conversations with Diane Keaton and him trying to sort of get her to forgive him to show
Hmm.
that he's changed, which you see a little bit of, but ultimately that doesn't work out in his favor. And it's because I think it ultimately falls apart. He looks like he's making some good progress with his redemption and getting back in the good graces of his family until, and this is a 30-year-old movie, so I'm not going to go crazy with the spoiler warning, but until their daughter is shot, when there's an assassination attempt on his life, he survives, but she ends up taking a bullet from the crowd and her wound is fatal. She died.
Yeah.
It was not a very well executed death scene for her, but again, that's because Sofia Coppola is not a very good actor.
Yeah.
Her performance was like one of the worst I've ever seen, which is impressive because I've sat through some of the DC Extended Universe movies, but
All right. So what's your overall rating?
like a 7 out of 10. Like this is me being merciful, but again, the Michael plot line was so powerful that it almost excuses some of Coppola's horrendous decisions. Almost.
Yeah.
Again, nowhere near the other two, not even like marginally close.
Yeah. All right. What's the next Al Pacino movie you're going to go see?
It's a wonderful question.
He's so good.
I know that.
We should round it out.
We get to something. We've got
What's the
another.
movie where he was plays a blind man?
I don't know.
All right, we'll find it. Put
Well,
that on our list for you to review.
okie dokie. Well, we'll have plenty of stuff next week, so it's not an immediate priority, but
No, I'm putting it on my list here
you
of
know,
things we got to do.
if you
All
insist.
right, let's move on to Star Wars time. So,
Oh,
Shadow Lord Maul. Did it just come out this morning?
yep.
You're on it.
Of
Nice.
course I'm on it. Star Wars. It's the first thing I did upon waking up.
All right, so for one and two, you said they were good, but maybe moving a little bit, really a lot of introductory stuff, it seemed, right? Like, how about this?
Now we have
Moving, starting to move faster?
it's moving too fast. The pacing is too fast. Like
Yeah.
last time I said it was too slow and too fast. Now it's just
Uh,
too fast. Like we're
yeah.
moving at the train of this, we're moving at like the speed of a bullet train. Like we need to slow down.
Hmm.
Just take some time to let things breathe.
Because how many episodes are they're gonna be 10?
Yeah, 10. We're up to 4 as of now.
Right. But
Uh,
I wonder if they want to get to someplace by 10, so they're rushing through these. How long are
uh,
the episodes?
between 22 and 30 minutes.
Yeah, pretty short, really.
Yeah, even by animated Star Wars standards, they tend to be a minimum of 25.
Right. All right, so tell me what happened plot-wise.
So the first episode is mostly after Maul has captured this Jedi Padawan who he wants to groom as his apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
Her name's Devon. He basically tells her how to escape the prison cell he's locked her in, and then she goes to confront him, and he doesn't even, by the end of the episode, they do have a small fight scene, but he's not trying to kill her. He's not really trying. Like he's straight up letting her walk out on her own. He doesn't care. He's like, it's just he insists that she's eventually going to come around and see his point.
Mm-hmm.
Because Maul's sort of method of manipulation here is different than how he tried to manipulate Ezra back in Rebels. Here he's sort of dodging some of her accusations, but he's not even really lying to her, which is kind of interesting. When she finds him after escaping, he's just sitting there drinking tea. And she's all like, "You're a murderer," and he's just like, "Yeah, okay, yeah. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do." He basically,
Right.
it's basically what he says. He's like, "Yeah, if you want to survive, you got to do what you got to do." Which, a little bit hypocritical considering some of the instances of the kills he's done. But you know what? That's pretty on brand for him. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he murdered innocent people just to draw Obi-Wan out at one point.
All right, so he's trying to get this Padawan here. So,
Yeah. A lot of his sort of manipulation strategy it's sort of trying to play at her sort of insecurities because she is a younger Jedi. So she
mm,
spent most of what she remembers is probably the war in which the Jedi were smeared, basically. Palpatine drew them into his war and to smear their reputation as warriors of peace. They would never be soldiers, and now they're soldiers. So she's over here. You already see back in the first couple episodes, her and her master are both present, and they're just like they can't really survive. Like and she insists that they need to steal to survive, whereas her master, who is old enough to remember the old ways, is like, we can rely on the kindness of strangers.
mm,
Doesn't work. So she goes petty stealing and gets arrested, which being in that prison with some of the gangsters Maul wanted to deal with leads her to Maul eventually, effectively.
so
So
she's questioning, yeah, which side is effective.
yeah, because she's over here like she's trying to uphold the Jedi values and she's fighting against Maul, but at this point, you already can tell that she's sort of debating internally
Mm,
whether or not he's got a point. He's like,
okay,
you're hiding in the shadows. You can't really do much of anything.
so that was episode one. What about two, three, and four?
So again, that's sort of his manipulation tactic. Because three Maul stuff is mostly just the manipulation. Like we get from episode three, there's the two main plot lines. There's Maul trying to turn her and
Hmm.
Captain Lawson of the local police force on Janix trying to sort of find where Maul is and apprehend him. So we've got two ongoing plot lines, and Maul's plot line in episode three in particular is pretty much entirely just him trying to manipulate Devon, which is
Mm,
partially because these episodes are egregiously short for some reason, but
yeah. But why are you saying it's too fast? If he's just trying to talk her into joining him.
because It feels like something that isn't a full, like they are in one location for pretty much the entirety of that episode. Like
Right.
and for what it's worth, we don't really focus on them and that manipulation too much in the episode. Like we jump from it, but I think the stuff with the investigation is focused on more, which is all great and dandy, but again, I want to get more into Maul's head, and we got little tastes of
Hmm.
that throughout the episode, but we got
Yeah.
little tastes of getting more into how this obviously evil character sort of justifies himself and justifies his actions and tries to manipulate people to his side.
Hmm.
You see a little bit of that. You see more of that, but we only get snippets of that because the rest of the episode's focused on the Janix police force's investigation of Maul and the syndicates, which is interesting in its own right because I do find the Captain Lawson character to be fairly compelling. He's, like I mentioned, voiced by Wagner Moura, who again
Hmm.
Academy Award nominee this past award season. But I do like his character a lot. I like what they're doing because he almost feels like the inverse, like the good guy version of Cyril Karn from Andor, in which he's
Hmm.
a local law enforcement. He's part of a local law enforcement agency in the Age of the Empire. But the difference between Cyril and Lawson is Cyril had this twisted idea of order in the way the Empire enforces it, whereas Lawson here, he believes he knows the Empire is corrupt, and his partner droid, Two Boots, keeps trying. He's like, we need Imperial assistance to find this guy, to deal with this guy. And Lawson vehemently refuses to contact the Empire. He does not want them getting involved because he
Hmm.
also has already figured out, even though this is pretty early in the Empire's reign, he's figured out that should the Empire come to his planet to help, they're not going to leave. They're going to occupy, they're going to take over everything.
Hmm. Okay.
They can get what they want, but they're not going nowhere. And he realizes that. He realizes, and this sort of there's a lot of Andor parallels with his stuff, which is kind of interesting because that sort of throws back to Andor's season 1 finale where Marva has her speech or her like funeral speech, and she's like, the Empire is a disease that thrives in darkness, and it's not visiting anymore. It's here to stay, which is
Hmm.
exactly sort of how the Empire operates. They won't get involved until something becomes a big enough problem for them to get involved. But once they sort of exert their authority on a planet that's operating fairly independently, they will not leave and they will strip it down until it is completely devoid of individuality whatsoever.
Hmm.
Individuality or culture or local authority, it's all not going to matter in the hands of the Empire. So he is desperate to avoid the Empire. Like he goes out of his way. I mean, he gets a little bit of time off to actually be a present father for his son, but he then immediately gets called back on duty once they get uh, whereabouts of the Pike shipment, which could lead them to Maul. And later in the after Devon escapes at the end of this episode, she escapes Maul's grasp and reunites with her master, her Jedi
Hmm.
master, and they start sort of trying to. Now they know where Maul is, so they're going to submit an anonymous report to the police force of Maul's location to see if they can try to apprehend him and bring him to justice, even though in this age of the galaxy of the Imperial's reign, and we're moving into episode 4 with this stuff, there's no real sort of this justice as a concept isn't really a thing in the Imperial era.
Right.
So you see them still trying to do things the right way and bring him to justice and all that jazz, but it's all going to eventually lead to the Empire. So they send this report to Captain Lawson directly, and he goes running, prepares a strike force to go after Maul, and him and his partner droid, who they have a very friendly and like strong dynamic, but you see the sort of strain being put on this dynamic because Protocol says if the situation escalates, you've got to call Imperial support. But
Mm.
Lawson, as well as his superior, the chief, is doing everything in their power to avoid Imperial intervention. So we reach a point
Well, I
where,
guess so. In a case like this, when there's no national government to turn to, then it's Wild West, basically.
yeah, and unfortunately, in this universe, the national or galactic government is the Empire, which
Right. Which nobody likes, so nobody wants to deal with. So they're trying to do everything themselves, making up the rules as they go along.
yeah, they're trying to avoid the rules because, the rules kind of suck and don't help anyone.
Hmm.
So his droid is like about to call the Empire, but he turns the droid off and then leads a strike team. So they go to Maul's little like hidden base. There's a big fight there. We get a lightsaber duel between Maul and the two Jedi, which very well animated. The lightsaber fights in animation have never really looked this good before because the way they sort of paint the lightsabers to look more hand-drawn,
Hmm.
they're mixing like computer generated animation, CGI, and 3D modeling with two-dimensional like hand-drawn, hand-painted backdrops. And that's sort of akin to something like the Spider-Verse movies or Arcane. So it's this really sort of visually unique experience, and visually it's absolutely stunning, but the action sequences are like fairly well choreographed, great sound
Hmm.
design.
Hmm.
Actually, there was a behind the scenes reel posted the other day. They actually incorporated somewhat Sam Witwer, who voices Maul, they incorporated his battle screams into the saber sounds, which is
Hmm.
kind of insane. And you can hear it. It's not even the first time they've done that. They did it in Clone Wars Season 7 once during Maul's fight with Ahsoka. But you sort of see this whole thing fall apart. You've got Maul syndicates fighting the police force, Maul himself fighting the Jedi. And
Okay.
the police are severely outgunned because he's got mercenaries from different syndicates. He's got
Hmm.
Mandalorians still loyal to him after
Hmm.
fleeing Mandalore. Um,
So what are we anticipating for next episodes?
so this episode ends with a giant sort of cliffhanger. His droid, the police droid, Two Boots,
Hmm.
gets turned back on at some point,
Hmm.
and there's a sequence right at the end, right after the big battle, and Maul manages to flee, and they retreat because they're outnumbered. Everyone is outnumbered, and you see Lawson. He's talking to Two Boots. He's like, I hope you'll forgive me for turning you off. And he's like, I do forgive you. I hope you forgive me for this. And again, he's been insisting on calling the Empire. The
Yeah.
episode ends with the Star Destroyer emerging above Janix. So
Got it. So we
we
have to
sort of
assume they called the Empire, and now they have to deal with all that.
Yeah, and we sort of have an idea of where this is going. We have episode titles, and episode 5 is called Inquisition, and episode 6 is called Night of the Hunted, which lines up with what we've seen in promotional material a lot. We know that two of the Emperor's Inquisitors are going to be present because they sort of specialize hunting down Jedi and Jedi adjacent characters.
Hmm.
So they're being drawn in to this, and their intervention, because they talked about a little bit earlier that during the Republic era, protocol was called the Republic. The Republic will send a Jedi. So now it's called the Empire. The Empire will send an Inquisitor, but
Hmm.
Inquisitors are not quite Jedi. I mean, most of them used to be Jedi, but they're not quite so kind.
Yeah, but they have Jedi powers.
Yes, they're trained in the Force and the dark side. So they're not technically Sith, but
Right.
they
Plus.
are still dark side force wielding individuals who carry
Hmm.
red lightsabers. Um,
Okay.
although everyone just insists that they only exist so that Palpatine can justify breaking the rule of two constantly, which, for what it's worth, seems pretty on brand for Palpatine to be like, no, 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 guys, they're not Sith because I don't call them Sith and I don't train them like Sith, so they don't count. Just me and Vader, we're the only Sith.
Yeah.
Or even like because Maul at this point has forsaken his Sith
Right.
identity. He shed the Darth title. I mean, he still channels their training and sort of,
Right, of course. And he still uses the Force, so.
yeah, and the dark side particularly. And again, he's channeling, he was raised by Sidious basically. He had no real childhood. He was trained from birth and tortured like
Hmm.
it's all he knows. So even if the Sith forsook him and betrayed him, and he wants nothing to do with them and he wants to destroy them, he still channels that training because it's all he's ever known.
Yeah. All right. Sounded good.
Yeah.
So leading up to May 4th. So see what's gonna happen. Six more episodes.
Yep, the finale will air on May 4th, and we'll record an episode the same night.
Can't wait.
It's going to be a fun
All
one.
right. Well, that was Star Wars time. So let's talk about the next movie you're gonna see.
Uh, Lee Cronin's The Mummy, which is a reimagining of The Mummy. It's not quite an action adventure one like the Brendan Fraser ones were. This is more of a straight up horror. Uh,
Hmm.
it was very controversial during its production or during its test screenings because they did a lot of test screenings last year that were supposedly overwhelmingly negative, although I've also learned over the years that test audiences are typically kind of stupid, but because they get like regular people who don't actually know anything going into it. There were
Hmm.
points where they considered dropping the Mummy name and changing the title to The Resurrected or something.
Hmm.
Everyone who they kept getting random people who heard the Mummy, they're like, oh, it's going to be like an Indiana Jones type adventure, like
Yeah.
the Brendan Fraser ones.
What is not?
Not even close. Although more recent early impressions from the last week or so have said that it's supposedly a very good horror film. So
Okay. When's that come out?
Friday, I'll see it Sunday, and we will talk about that next week on Monday.
All right. Sounds good. And so we're also gonna besides that, we're gonna talk about Hamlet. This is a different Hamlet. You were confusing me.
Yeah, well, you're confusing it with Hamnet, different film, different title.
Right.
This
Well,
is a this film just came out this last week. It's a modern reimagining. It stars Riz Ahmed, who you may know from films like Rogue One or Venom, but
hmm.
he's the lead in this film. It's a modern reimagining, so it's not set in like the same era. So instead of being
Hmm.
set in like some older era, it's set in modern times, and it's sort of set in the South Asian community in London. Although
Hmm.
the interesting thing about that one is that despite that, they still talk in like the ye olde English, like they try to mimic the Shakespeare writing style or dialogue style.
Okay. That should be interesting.
Yeah. We're also going to go further in depth on CinemaCon next week and two more episodes of Maul.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. Well, good week. Very
Yeah.
informative. So that's a wrap.
Yeah, that's a wrap. And cut.